Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope you're all doing great today. So we are going to do something a little bit different. Still playing off of that crater, the Enceladus pen. I picked up some of those little styrofoam balls and also the UV resin ones that Kim found. And so we're going to try casting these things. I don't know. This might be one of those things that doesn't work, period. Styrofoam is going to mess up the structural integrity of the blank. So you don't want to load it up with styrofoam. Otherwise, you can literally just break it in half probably. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try just adding some of those little styrofoam balls into the cup, mix it in, and then pour it basically, and just see if we can get some little craters. What I'm thinking might happen, the heat, I mean, it doesn't get that hot, so I don't know, but the heat or the chemical reaction or the chemicals that are involved in the resin could kind of dissolve the styrofoam and leave craters that are just not there. They may stay in there, and pretty easily we can remove the styrofoam, and then you'll have little pits. I don't know. This is one of those things that I think is this one's good. I don't know. We'll see how this one goes. One thing that I will say, I don't think that I would do this for a kitless pen, or like maybe a diamond painting pen. But the problem with the kitless pens is you're not gluing it onto something. And I think that that's going to be kind of an advantage in this case, where, the blank may be kind of messed up. If everything goes well and you've got little pits all over the place, I think you're better off actually gluing it to a tube. Now you could do a kitless. There are, I don't know what, there's like a term or something for this, but you can make a kitless pen that has a tube in it. There are people that do that. I know people glue like abalone strips to a tube and then like cast that around it, I think. Or I don't exactly know how they make them, but there are some kitless pens out there that do it that way. I don't know. I don't know enough about that to recommend it necessarily, but either way, the other thing is with the little UV resin balls, they're going to be a little bit problematic. They're going to be heavy. I mean, this little bag weighs quite a bit, so I don't know what the buoyancy. I'm guessing it's just going to sink like a rock possibly in the resin. So this may be something where you actually have to fill the tube or something like that with them. I don't have that many, so we can't really experiment too much with doing it that way. But it should be interesting. The other thing about the UV resin balls is they look like they're very shiny, like smooth surfaced. Again, resin doesn't like smooth surfaces, so those may want to fling out or cause kind of an instability. So this one's going to be a little bit, I don't know how this is going to go kind of thing at all. But it should be kind of fun to see how this works. So let me switch over to the overhead view real quick. I'll show you what we got going on. And these were pretty cheap. I got them on Amazon. I forgot to grab a link. I don't know why don't we see if this even works before I start linking to them. But I got a pretty big jar of just these regular, white styrofoam balls. And I also got this one. It's got like colorful ones. Again, for this experiment, I don't know. I don't think these are going to remain intact. So I don't know that this colorful thing is really a big deal or not. But we'll try it out. We'll see what's going on. And then this is the UV resin ones. Supposedly they're UV resin. I hope they're not really actually glass, because they are really heavy. It said UV resin. I don't know. Yeah, they're probably not glass. Looks like there's kind of maybe different sizes in there possibly, and I don't even know. I don't even know how they make this stuff. There's also like powder or something in the bottom, but anyway, so that's what we got today. It should be kind of interesting. So if you missed last week, we finished up the Camo pen. I really love this little finial detail that I added. Definitely going to do that. I think I'll be doing that on all of my pens from now on. Got to figure out where to get them. Now, I did look into it a little bit. You can get Well, let me just open this up, show you the rest if you didn't see it before. Really happy with how the blank looks. I'd done, you know, I'd tested these out, so I was pretty confident in the blank, but I really like the satin finish. It's pretty awesome. And I think it might actually get a little bit shinier as you're touching it. So this is kind of an area where, you know, the satin, what I'm terming a satin finish. I'm going up to the gray Zona paper. Chad goes to like 600 or 800 or something like that. So depending on where you stop sanding, you're going to get more matte or satin. And the higher you go, the more likely that your like finger oils over time are actually going to kind of put a patina kind of thing on it. It'll make it a little bit shinier. Now you can just wash it off, I'm sure, and that'll probably dull it back down. But that's something that you might want to kind of play around with. The matte, that lower grit, either like the green or maybe even lower, like a 600 or something like that, silicon carbide, may be a better way to go over time if you're really going for that kind of dull look. The lower you go, the duller it's going to be. I'm pretty happy with this satin, but it does have, I think that if I had the same exact pen and I put a couple of these things next to each other, I think there would be a difference in like the sheen, like the kind of reflective look. And in this case, for this one, I really like the satin thing on most pens. That's what I've done on all of my other ones, and I like it. But in this camo, it actually, it could probably go even lower and be that real dull kind of matte. So just something that I kind of noticed while I was kind of, you know, playing around with this thing, looking at it. But it's pretty cool. So I'll link to the camo pen blanks if anybody wants to grab some. They're on my website available. And if you ordered some last week, so I think I mentioned that I was going to try doing post curing, because I really, you know, I've mentioned it, I've known about it. I have never really done it because I wanted to kind of test things out, and it was just one of those things that I'm like, I can just wait a few days. Whatever, it's not that big of a deal usually. But one of the things that I'm doing is hopefully I'm moving my team color blanks to being poured vertically and getting round blanks. And the difference is, you know, when you're pouring a giant brick, you really don't have to worry so much. As long as your shop is somewhere near like room temperature, the resin heats up more and it just cures better. You kind of get further along on the curing process. And, you know, my shop's 68. I don't really have a problem putting these aside, cutting them and storing them wherever when I'm pouring the bricks. I'm also using Alumilite white resin for these, for those types of blanks, which one of the advantages, I really don't even recommend people mess with it. That's part of the reason that I'm trying to move away from or move into these round blanks is because I don't really want to work with Alumilite white particularly. It has some advantages, but it's got a lot of disadvantages that I think make it not really worth it for most people. But one of the advantages is it actually only has like a 3-day cure time. So with those blanks, the team color ones that I make, I don't really have to worry so much about that. I can kind of rotate things and it's a little bit quicker. But moving towards the round blanks, when you're only pouring, a very small 3/4 inch thing, you don't have the mass all in one to generate as much heat, especially if you're using Alumilite Clear Slow. It doesn't generate as much heat anyway. So one thing that you could do is just switch to Alumilite Clear, the regular version. You've got a shorter working time, but it also cures faster and it can handle, like it generates more heat than the Clear Slow. The Clear Slow, for anybody that doesn't know, I've kind of mentioned this a few times, but Clear Slow was developed to pour gigantic amounts, like big masses, like bowl blanks and stuff, without it overheating. And the only way that it can do that is it doesn't reach as high a temperature, which means if you're pouring smaller amounts, which I think even Alumilite doesn't really recommend that you pour like pen blanks with it, but obviously it's fine. But the problem is it doesn't generate as much heat as most other resins, which means when you've got small things, you may have to kind of help it along, or it's going to take a little longer to cure. So I was like, oh, I want to look into this post-curing thing. Well, the first attempt kind of went really bad, honestly. I destroyed a mold. So one thing about this, if you're using a mold that's pretty much on its last leg, because I was like, well, if this doesn't really work and I destroy a mold, I don't want to destroy one of my new ones. But at the same time, I also think it made it worse because I was using a mold that was pretty much on its last legs. It was kind of really, sticking to the blanks a little bit more and all that. And it literally like kind of melted onto the blanks. Like I destroyed that mold trying to get them out. I had to like cut them free because it was kind of weird. I don't know if this is going to happen to you, but I would probably not use a really old mold and post-cure it. I was doing 150 Fahrenheit like overnight, and 180 I also tried. That one I was a little bit more careful. The biggest problem though, everything seemed to work fine. The post-curing, they hardened up really well. They were really cured. The problem was they bent. They were like deformed, and I had to basically toss out 2 batches of blanks because they were like warped. So that's kind of a problem. I don't know where that happened. I just want to warn you guys, if you're going to do this, you may end up and they weren't like bent, but I mean, they were more bent than I want to be selling to people, because if you were trying to, make a kind of a fatter pen, if it's wobbling on the lathe because the bent, the blank was bent, like if you're making a kitless pen, you're going to use the majority of that blank, and it's going to be wobbling pretty bad, which means you're going to lose a ton of material just truing it up. So if if I knew that people were just going to be making like a 2-piece pen or Sierras, that's not a big deal because you cut it in half, and it's not, the amount of wobble is cut in half at least. But I was like, I'm just not going to sell these things. So going back to, if you bought, the Camo blanks last week, sorry for the delay in getting them out. I said, okay, I'm just going to do my normal curing thing. Because when I take my blanks out of my molds, what I was doing was I was rolling them on my table saw wing, and they would be fine if they were just pulled out like I do normally. They would roll, pretty flat. You could barely see any like light underneath them. But those ones that I post-cured were like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh man, that's not good. So just be careful with the post-curing. One alternative one thing I want to say is the oven that I was using. This was another reason why I never really got into this, because I don't know if it was going to be a problem, and I don't know if I was having a problem because of the oven that I was using. That oven is used for, I use it for stabilizing. So cactus juice is going in there. That's a different chemical than, resin, like alumilite. The other problem is my dad bakes metal parts that are like doused in WD-40. So I don't know if there's residual other chemicals that caused because I left these blanks in the molds. So I got to be honest, I was kind of like, I don't know why these things were so warped. It could have been a chemical reaction with stuff that's in that oven. I don't know. So I just want to warn you, there is the possibility, depending on how you're doing your post-curing and some of the other things, that it could cause them to kind of warp. Now, PVC pipes are probably not going to work any better because PVC melts itself. I mean, just the curing of the resin can warp PVC pipes alone. Just curing the resin curing in them. A lot of my PVC pipes, you got to toss them out because they warp or bend. And at that point, they're kind of worthless. So technically, silicone molds should work. Like, this shouldn't have been a problem, really, but I don't know. Now, I do know that there are a lot of people that are switching to metal pipes for resin casting for your pen blanks and stuff. I don't know much about that. I'm pretty sure you can just go buy steel pipes. I would probably imagine you're going to want to like hone them or polish the insides a little bit. I don't know anything about that. I don't use them. I would be interested to look into it at some point if I can find out if someone will share what they're doing. Pretty much metal pipes you're never going to have to replace them. That's kind of one of the big advantages. But for post-curing, you definitely don't have to worry about the pipe bending or anything like that. Like, you should get blanks that are good to go. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of share my first foray into post-curing. Now, another alternative the other issue is, really toaster ovens fluctuate in temperature so much that it makes it a little bit difficult to post-cure. Instead, what you can do is, let me go grab, so one of the things that I do anyway, especially in the winter, is underneath my pressure pots, I've been doing this for a while. I use these reptile heating mats, and they're just basically kind of like a heating pad, you know, like a heat blanket thing. And so I just slide them under my pressure pots, and if there's like a gap, I put something under it so that it's like in contact with the pressure pot underneath, and you know, like just kind of slide it under. And that will raise the temperature. I just crank the volume up like all the way, and they get up to probably about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And what that does in my shop, it's 68. What it does is it's going to raise the temperature of in the pressure pot like about 10 degrees. So it's like maybe not 10 degrees, but like it gets it up to about 75 when it's 68 in my shop. So that's a little extra help. The other thing that I tried out, and I was doing this for my 3D printing resin vat. The other thing that I tried out is they sell these little bands that people use for like fermenting beer and kombucha and God knows what else. Let me just try and get this thing off of here so I can show it to you. And I'll try to go grab a link to these things from Amazon. So this is basically the same idea. It's just like a heating band. And if you're doing resin 3D printing, I highly recommend picking these up because heating your resin in the 3D printer, like it will reduce your failures like a ton. It was kind of like a game changer for me. It fits perfectly on the larger size, like the Saturn size for Elegoo. It would be a little bit cumbersome on like a Mars or like the smaller ones, but I think you could kind of figure out how to get it wrapped and held in place just to keep your vat you know, warmed up. But I mean, it'll warm up the resin for my 3D printer up to like 90 degrees. And especially like in the summer, it definitely gets it even warmer. That makes it thinner, but that 3D printing resin really likes higher temperatures. It really does not like, I mean, I think they recommend it being like 85 Fahrenheit to get good printing results. And that also corresponds to like all the numbers for your exposure rates and all that stuff. It's kind of based on the resin being like 80 or 85 degrees or something like that. So that helps a lot. But you saw I kind of wrapped this thing around, and I was just using a little clamp to kind of keep it like held in place. Excuse me. Got a frog. But this raised this pressure pot's temperature up to like 94, which makes a huge difference. Like there's a noticeable difference when I pull blanks out of this thing with this heating rod around it, and I also have one of those little pads underneath. But the blanks that were coming out were much firmer, like really good. Like they polished a lot better. And we're talking, that's just me leaving it in overnight as it cures in the pressure pot. Now, the thing is you need to watch out because you don't want to raise while it's curing in the pressure pot. You don't want to get the temperature of your pressure pot up to like 130. That could cause runaway exothermic reactions with the resin curing. So you know, but this 90 or so, 95, even if you got it up to like 100, I think that would be good, especially if it's kind of winter, you know, 68, like room temperature in your shop. If it's like 85, 90 already in your shop, obviously you don't need to mess around with any of this stuff. I don't think you're going to get much advantage there. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to mention that. I'm going to take 2 seconds real quick and get this thing back on because I really like this, and I feel pretty comfortable. There is a little bit of a safety concern just leaving these things running, you know, for like overnight in your shop. So, you know, you'll have to assess that kind of situation, but you know, these things are meant to do this type of a job. It's not like it's not like you're trying to use something that really wasn't meant for this. That's kind of what these things are meant for. So, but again, in your own shop, you have to decide what's safe and what's not. But again, I mean, these reptile things, I feel pretty comfortable with these. People leave them running all the time under a reptile tank. That's kind of what they're meant to do. So, you know, I'm okay with it personally. I haven't had any issues with it, but you'll have to kind of assess your own situation and how you feel about all that. But it could give you a little bit of help, especially when you're dealing with smaller parts. That's the main thing. You know, you really don't need to do this kind of thing if you're pouring larger bricks and stuff like that, or bowl blanks. So anyway, that was I just wanted to share that because I wasn't super thrilled with my first attempt at doing that post-curing thing, and I don't want you guys, you know, I've kind of mentioned it, but I don't have a lot of, I didn't have any experience really doing it myself. Now I've got some, and it was okay. It did cure them, you know, and just to let you guys know, for the temperature numbers, it's actually in the instructions that Alumilite, you know, gives you when you buy your resin. So what their recommendations are, just so people know, 16 hours at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, or 6 to 8 hours at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, what I'm going to be doing, there's also another thing that I'm testing out. If you don't want to have to buy an oven, or you want to do something a little bit different, it's very similar. There's like more industrial versions of these kind of heat band things that are kind of meant to go around like 5-gallon buckets. And I mean, these things go, you can crank the band up to like 300 Fahrenheit, like they're serious kind of things. And they're also meant, there's some that are, you know, go around like 55-gallon drums. So they're meant to like heat up, I mean, literally do exactly this kind of thing. What I'm going to try to do is, I think that one of the problems is if you start getting up to like 150, 180, that's fairly high temperature, and it's probably, the other thing to think about is it's probably doing that consistently with a silicone mold is probably going to degrade the silicone mold over time a little bit, so just keep that in mind as well. However, what I was thinking is, I got really good results. Like there was a noticeable difference just getting the pressure pot up to about 90, 95. All right. So I'm thinking if you just kind of cranked up the temperature, if you could get your blanks up to like 120, I think that's plenty. The thing is, you just have to kind of leave them a little bit longer to get to like a full cure. But realistically, do we need them to be absolutely a full cure in many cases? Sometimes, like for me, my biggest thing is I just need to get them cured enough to where I could ship them, and if temperatures fluctuated, it really wouldn't have an effect. So if you can get them 75 to 80% of the way to full cure, that's most likely good enough to kind of leave them wherever. Maybe not freezing temperatures, but you know, within a decent range. I think that you're getting to the point where the physical properties are probably good enough to do whatever you want to do. And it can also speed up your process of turning them. That's the other thing, is if you can get it to like 80% cured, you probably aren't going to have any problems, you know, turning, polishing, sanding, doing all that. You know, just for instance, what I do with these test blanks, you know, I'm doing all these like experiments with different colors. If I just, without any heat, just the little heating pad, so it's staying about 75 or so, 70 to 75. When I pull the blanks out, I do turn them to make those little samples. And so next day, I mean, they are soft, like soft, right? So polishing and sanding that stuff, it loads up. It's all just gummy kind of. You can do it, but it's definitely not as good as it could be. The difference between 75 and like 90 to 95 is massively different. I could get them polished, sanded well. They felt like they were fully cured, almost. And that was just, like I said, next day, leaving them in a pressure pot at around 90. So I think if you could just kind of play around with like 120 or so, 125, you're probably not doing much more. I don't think that, I think you're going to save the mold life a little bit more if you're a little bit lower on that temperature scale. It's probably not going to have as much effect in degrading it as quick. And I'm hoping that it doesn't cause warping as much. Like it just doesn't get them hot enough to where they can really move around. If it wasn't a chemical issue, if it was something else, maybe just kind of playing with that temperature number could help. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys. You know, I always like to kind of share my experiences, especially if things don't really work out. I want to make sure that you don't run into that same issue too. So let me scroll up and see what I've been talking for half an hour at this point. Let's see here. So I don't think there's any. Yeah, I have my own. I don't sell t-shirts. My wife made this for me, and she's definitely not going to go into the t-shirt making business. Sorry. The problem that I have with t-shirts, like there's things online you can go to like is it like Spreadshirt or something? I don't know. There's all these different things where you can order like, piecemeal, like one at a time, and like I could even have it run through my website. The problem is it is so expensive for you guys to order a t-shirt. I just can't even imagine the point. And you have no control over the quality. I have no clue where, I mean, half the time they're just outsourcing this to whoever can do it. So the quality is terrible usually, and I don't want to do the t-shirt thing. And I don't want to, alternatively, you can sell your own, but then you have to buy everything from small to double XL or larger, and then keep quantities of it, and that costs just a complete fortune for people. So it's t-shirts are a tough one. I don't like junky t-shirts, you know what I mean? And I don't like keeping inventory of a bunch either. So let's see here. I don't think there's any questions or anything. Hydraulic press. No, you shouldn't need a hydraulic press or any of that stuff. As long as it's the same thing as like PVC. All you got to do is just spray your pipes with mold release, and you'll be good. You shouldn't need excessive force to get your blanks out of a pipe, whether it be metal or, because the thing is, like, the resin, it doesn't want to stick to metal either. That's one of the reasons why I was saying that, especially the more polished, like you would probably want to get like a flap wheel. And like actually sand these things, polish the insides. If you do that, the resin does not want to stick to it, like at all. Resin doesn't stick to metal. But if you hit it with a mold release, even if you didn't hone it and do all that, polish the insides, if you hit it with mold release, it's going to come out. It shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, you could do like Dances with Aardvarks. You can create like a little heat box. That's basically what I'm talking about. I like the idea of these little band things that I found. Now, they're not cheap. I got to be honest. These ones are like, I want to say they're like maybe 15 or 20 bucks each. And like I said, to get you up to like 90 something, this actually is having an effect. Now, again, depends on what's going on in your shop. I got 68 degrees temperature in my shop. And then I've got, one of those little reptile guys underneath and this guy, and it's getting it up to about 90, 95 in this pressure pot. I think for the money, this is the way to go. Like that is phenomenal. That's going to actually give you a cheap way to get a little bit of a faster cure going, especially if it's cooler in your shop. Now, if it's like freezing in your shop, this is not going to fix that problem. I don't think it's enough. Like you would have to fully wrap this and do all kinds of different stuff if it's literally below 30, and even if it was like below 50 or 40 degrees in your shop, this isn't going to really save your life and make that. You still got to watch out, basically, for that. But if you're at room temperature, this will get you up to a higher temperature and speed up that process on smaller things. But if you want to kind of post-cure things, and again, you want to leave it in the mold so that it retains as much stability. Now, one other test that I did was I actually demolded them the next day. So this is something, I don't think that if you demolded these like after 4 hours, I think I would wait the next day. And even I think in the instructions, Alumilite kind of recommends letting them kind of give them like overnight and then do the post-curing thing. But the other thing that I tried was to just pull them out, demold them, and then put them on like a metal, like a dead flat surface, lay them down. I was worried that it would actually melt them because I did them at 180. That was the second test that I did. I only did like one pen blank out of a couple batches that time though. But I laid them down on a metal surface, put them in that oven, and it didn't deform the blanks to the point where there was like a flat. That's what I thought was going to happen. It worked pretty well. Like I said, left it in the pressure pot overnight. And then, and it was maybe at like I said, it was probably at the 70 degrees or so, just a heating pad under. But even if it was just 68, whatever. So I demolded them the next day, put them in the oven for, about 6 or 8 hours or something like that at 180. And that worked okay. They were still a little bit deformed. I think there was maybe a little bit, but that could work. So that, you're going to have to kind of experiment around with it. I don't have a bulletproof system for doing this with, regardless, I think, so I just want to reiterate, the biggest problem that I had was the blanks kind of warped a little bit, which everything else worked. Like it post-cured them and everything was great. They turned excellent. So like the whole process worked. The problem that I had was it just kind of deformed them for some reason. And I had an issue getting them out of the mold as well. So that temperature may be an issue. I don't know if there was a chemical issue going on with my oven. Who knows, you know? I don't know how chemicals could get through the silicone because it was stuck on the inside. So I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, sorry, I'm very talkative. It's just, you know, it was one of those things that really blew my mind. I'm like, okay, because everybody, I know a lot of people do this and it's not a big deal. You know, if you want to post-cure bricks, that's easy. Just go stack them, you know, number one, it's a larger mass, so it's already gotten a little bit, they're more rigid to start when you take them out because it was a bigger mass and it got to a higher temperature. With bricks, you pull them out, throw them in the oven at 150, 180, whatever. It doesn't really matter because you're going to cut them up into squares anyway. The problem is with these round ones, if they start deforming and you're trying to create a, you know, turn a longer portion of it, you're going to lose so much material. It kind of makes it not really worth it, especially if you're selling blanks. I don't want to sell people banana blanks, as I like to call them. Seeding germination mats. That's cool. Yeah. One of the issues that I had though is there's a lot of stuff going on with these 2.5 gallon pots. Like with a 5 gallon pot, you've got a pretty wide area that you could get a thicker band because those other ones are pretty wide. Like it's a big silicone. It's similar to this, but it's like a bigger thing. And so for a 2.5 gallon pot, like the bigger things don't actually, I mean, I guess you could just kind of wrap it around, but I really think you want contact. So these small $20 bands or 50, I think I bought some for like 15. They're pretty awesome. Like for 15 bucks, like that's definitely something to look into to start at least. Sounds like a good idea. Major frosts, yeah. Yeah, again, be careful with casting in really cold temperatures. Like realistically, I don't recommend casting in temperatures under 50 Fahrenheit. You're going to run into problems. Like you would have to keep your shop heated. And then, you know, if you can't keep the shop heated, you know, and it's dropping to below freezing overnight, you'd have to really test out and experiment, you know, doing things to kind of keep your pots warm overnight, like for extended periods in that kind of a cold temperature. And the problem is if it's that cold, these little bands aren't going to heat up that hot. So just be a little bit careful with that kind of stuff if you're in a really cold temperature. But, you know, those other methods, like if you can create a box and heat that and do all that kind of stuff and keep it at a high temperature. I really think that those other things that I was talking about that can get up to like 300 Fahrenheit, you can literally just go buy a plastic bucket. I don't know. I don't think you can go to 300 in a plastic bucket, but you could get a metal bucket. And that way you're not, you know, using up your pressure pot basically to post-cure stuff, but you can get a bucket, wrap that thing around it, jack it to whatever temperature you want. And I think at that point, even if it was freezing in the shop, if you've already taken them out of the pressure pot, you could just put them in something like that and you'd be good to go. But it's just really tough, you know, tough to figure out the perfect solution. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on and do some casting here. So I've got a lot of mold. Most of my molds are kind of in use right now. I'm kind of waiting. I did a little experiment with that bucket thing overnight, so I'm waiting for this one mold to kind of cool down. That's another thing. One thing that could have occurred is handling the mold while it's still pretty hot. Like you take it out of the oven when it's 180, and you can like move the mold, the whole mold. The blanks are a little soft and all that stuff. That could have been enough where I was just pulling them out and moving them, and it just bent them a little bit. So one thing that could help is to just not touch them, like get them out of the pressure pot. And what I would do is just be kind of careful when you're moving it around in the mold. if you have an oven or whatever, get it in the oven, do whatever temperature, and then like just turn the oven off and don't touch them. That might be a way to kind of keep them a little bit more rigid or straight, I should say. You live in Arizona, we don't know what cold is. Well, I gotta be honest, even at Turner's Warehouse, you know, I was there in February, their shop was pretty cold where we were casting. I mean, relatively cold. Like it wasn't hot in the winter there. And if they just had like one of these, you know, bands or something, you know, these little reptile pads on their pressure pots, I mean, it would make a difference even in Arizona in the winter. So, you know, summer, yeah, just put them in the trunk and you're good to go. All right, so let's switch to this view. Let's go with the styrofoam ones first. I have no clue. I haven't thought about what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to be using the P-Town molds for these. I got a couple of these. These are 3/4 inch. They're 5 1/4 tall. And right now I'm out of silicone, so people were asking me about, you know, they wanted a Gatling mold, and I'm like, I don't even have silicone. I don't really have time to make them right now. So the alternatives are Nikki over at Olive Frogs. She makes some really excellent molds, but these are the old standbys, the P-Town subbies. They make all kinds of different sizes. I've got these 3/4 and they're 5 1/4 deep. I mean, realistically, I would just use these, but I kind of wanted 5 1/2 inch blanks when I cut them. And so for 3/4 inch, I don't think they make anything higher, like a 6-inch mold. So I just decided to make my own. Another one that I have, and I really like these, they do have a 7/8 by 6. So they're a little bit bigger, and these are pretty nice. They even have a gigantic 3/4 inch pen blank mold that has 12. And so you can get these usually at Turner's Warehouse, or you can get them at P-Town Subby. These things work great. Most people that are using silicone molds actually are using these. But there are a couple other sources out there. And like I said, I'm not going to have any of my own on my website for quite a while. I need to order silicone, but I don't really have time to make them right now. So anyway, God, excuse me. I got a frog in my throat. So let's open it up to some colors. If you guys want to super chat, pick some colors, we'll just throw some in there. I mean, I guess we could just go with gray. That's kind of what we were trying to do, is like a moon. We can open up the super chat. We'll do that for these guys on the next round. If you guys want to pick some colors, this one, let's just go with some gray for this batch and just see what we can kind of get out of these things. I think I'm going to do 2 different cups, and we'll do like 3 blanks that have these multicolored ones and 3 blanks that have these guys. Now, I don't know how many grams these things take. I'm actually going to go over to the P-Town Subby website because I'm pretty sure they tell you. Let's see here. Casting. I got a lot of stuff going on here. Vertical silicone molds. 12, yeah, I got a 12. And they have the tall ones as well. Just to let you know about these guys, if you don't know. P-Town Subby makes the tall ones. That's something that I don't even sell. I don't sell my tall one. They're really hard to make. And it's just not worth my time to sell them. Frankly, I don't want to make them for myself. These work really well. There's only 4 holes. But the other thing is, these are much cheaper than mine. So like, I mean, really, the only reason I'm selling mine is just because like I knew that I'd be using them and people would kind of want them. Frankly, I don't even want to make silicone molds. I gotta be honest. I don't even want to make my own. I wish somebody would just make exactly what I want. I would pay them to make them. But much more economical, and they're pretty good molds. You know, they're fine. They've been the standby for a long time. Many years. Fred does excellent work. All right, so what am I doing here? I need to get my little book out. We're gonna do some gray. I'm just gonna make up a gray. We're gonna mix a little bit of white, a little bit of black. I'm gonna do a lot of white. So we're gonna go for a very light gray in these guys. Kind of go for like a moon look. Let me look and see if I can find what they say for 3/4 by, oh, they do have a 3/4 inch by 5 3/8. It only has 4 blanks that you can get. It's kind of weird. They have weird ones. 6 blank, 3/4 by 5. Okay, so on their website, it says that it takes about 45 grams per hole on these guys. So I'm just going to bump that up to like 50 just to make sure. I like to kind of have a little extra. They got a bunch of different sizes. I mean, they got 5/8, they got 7/8 diameter. They got a 4 blank vertical 7/8 by 12 inch deep as well. So I'm just here. I'm gonna drop a link to because Turner's Warehouse sells these, but they don't have them in stock right now. So I'm just gonna link to Fred's website if you guys want to look into these silicone molds. They got like everything you ever wanted, pretty decently. Okay, so what's the date today? 3/29. We're doing Styrofoam. Number 1. Something is beeping, and I don't know if it's in our shop. It's like one of those, like, like when you're like, it's not as loud, but it's similar to like when one of your fire alarm things, smoke detectors, is beeping at you. And I can't pinpoint where this beep is coming from in our shop. It may not even be in our shop. It may be the people next door somewhere. Oh, it's annoying. So 50 times 6 is 300 grams. And that's actually one of the other nice things. Not only are the P-Town molds a little cheaper, I mean, like a lot cheaper, like probably 50% the price. The other thing is they are a little bit shorter, than mine. And so you actually don't have to use as much resin either. So like people are like, oh, the Gatling molds are great. And I'm like, yeah, they're expensive. So there's nothing wrong with all these other makers that are making pretty good molds. You definitely don't need mine. So we're doing gray. I'm going to do 2 different shades of gray, I think. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to do 2 different shades of gray, and then we're going to dump them together, and then we're going to add Styrofoam into the cup. I think that'll be the best way. I don't want to like fill the entire tube up with Styrofoam. I was telling you, you have dimensional, like there wouldn't be enough resin holding everything together if you really did that. I think that's a bad way to do it. I think you're better off dumping some Styrofoam in the cup, mixing it in, and just having kind of random little craters, hopefully. So we're going to do 2 different ones. We're going to go 150 in even amounts, 150 grams in each cup. We're going to go with I don't know. I don't have like some recipe for a gray off the top of my head. I got one. Well, actually, yeah, I do. I've got a pigment that'll work. We're gonna do that one, and we're gonna do we're just going to add a little bit of black to this light gray that I've got. Okay, so here we go. 300 grams. I mean, that'll fit in a... I don't even need to get a giant bucket out. We can just use a regular little cup. That'll be enough. Maybe a UPS system. Yeah, UPS system. What's that? UPS. Is that like computer batteries or something? Like a backup battery type thing? So 150 part A. Another reason why I might have just pulled these molds out anyway, even if I had my own molds ready, because they are smaller. And I'm going to be completely honest, I don't have a lot of faith in this experiment. So I don't really need to make 7 blanks, number 1. I don't need to make tall blanks. We're just going to go, we're going to go for tubed, like a kit, I'll just turn like a Sierra or something like that for the tests, just to see how this goes. I really don't have a lot of confidence in either of these Styrofoam and whatever backup battery. Oh yeah, I don't have any of those like for computers. We do at home. I don't really have anything that, like, even if, I don't know. I mean, worst case scenario, even if the computer got wiped, I don't really have anything on my computers out here that I really care that much about. Haven't had a backup system, battery backup. I figure if the power goes out, it's not like I can stream or do anything anyway, so don't really need a backup. All right, so we'll mix this stuff up in this cup, and then like I said, I'm just going to split this in two. We'll have two different cups, and it's going to be a little bit of a back and forth. We're going to do a dirty pour, basically, kind of thing. And I'm not going to wait around because I want to get the styrofoam in the, well, actually, I'm going to put the styrofoam in first. I don't know, I just want to see what's going on. So I'm going to actually do that before I even put the pigments in. I do think I'm going to split the cups though. Pour out half into another cup, and then we'll add some of this styrofoam. And actually, so, shoot. That's not going to really work because I want to mix them together, but I want to do 3 and 3 with these. So we're going to have to do, that's not going to work. That's the tough thing, trying to do multiple experiments all at once. Sometimes it forces you to do things differently than you really want to. So we'll add the pigments in first, pour them together. I don't even care. In this case, we're going for 2 light shades of gray. And kind of the idea is we want it to be like kind of a weird blend. So I'm not worried about, typically you would want to wait. And I still might wait till like 90 degrees Fahrenheit before I pour them together. Otherwise they'll just kind of really bleed and kind of turn into one just in the middle gray. Hopefully that made sense. Typically I would wait to pour, if I'm doing like a dirty pour, I would wait until like, probably like 100 degrees or so before I pour them together and give it a little swirl. That'll kind of mix them together, but you'll have some separation. If I poured it right away, there's a much higher chance that it really is just going to like totally bleed together and kind of form one shade of gray. So I'm going to put 150 grams in here. Did I do that math right? I want to make sure. 50, yeah. Started thinking about it. I'm like, God, this just doesn't seem like a lot of resin. Okay, so we got 150 in there. We're going to use this light gray that I've got. And let's see, we only need probably like 1% or so. I'm going to actually look and see what 1 gram looks like. See how that feels. I want it to be like opaque enough, so we're not like seeing the tube, but you also don't need to waste a bunch. So let's just kind of see. That looks opaque enough. Most grays are going to have a lot of white in them, and white is totally opaque. So I think that's fine. I'm gonna write a note down. And so in the other one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put 1 gram of this gray, but we're going to add a little bit of black. Very small amount, like a couple drops. Maybe a couple drops. I'm actually going to use, I usually use the Alumilite black, their dye. Is a really pretty strong black. Like there's a lot of pigment in it. So I'm actually going to use a different one that is a little bit less, it has a little less pigment in it. It'll give me more, 1 drop of Alumilite black may be too much, like it's too strong, basically. So we're just going to sneak up on this guy. We're going to go one drop. And I just want to look, that's one of the nice things. We can just kind of look at the shade in the cup and just add, keep adding a little bit until you get to the point where you're like, okay, that's the difference that I wanted. So I'm going to put these next to each other. There's a little bit, this one's a little darker. I mean, frankly, that probably could be okay. I'm going to do 1 more drop though. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I think that's plenty. We just want a little bit of difference. Not a lot. Yeah, that's plenty right there. So I don't know if you guys can see the difference. Yeah, you can see the difference, I think, on camera. Get these stir sticks out of the way. See? Just a little bit of tone difference in these. This one's darker, obviously. And I think it should be kind of an interesting effect. I don't know. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do... The problem is I don't know how much of this styrofoam stuff to add, and it's not like I can weigh it. I think I'm going to go for, let's see here. I really wish that I could have, it would have been easier to kind of figure out what's going on in clear resin with the styrofoam. I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to add like a teaspoon to eat in each one of these things, and we'll just have to kind of see how that works. So I'm going to do a teaspoon of the white. Again, what I'm going to wait for is for these cups to warm up, then I'm going to like dump them together kind of thing, which is going to be kind of weird, but how's that going to work? I'm thinking about this real quick, guys. Yeah, because I want to do two different colors, so I have to add that kind of last. But, oh, that's not really going to work. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This isn't exactly the experiment that I wanted to do. I wanted to try doing 3 blanks with the white, 3 blanks with the multicolored, but that's just not going to work. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, that doesn't seem like a lot. Yeah, they're floating also. That was another thing that I was pretty sure was going to happen. It may not be a big deal once the resin thickens up enough. I need to cut this little thing. The issue that I was going to have is there's no way for me to get what I wanted. Let's see. Well, yeah, there's no, we're going to have to just do both colors in everything. There's just really no way for me to do this the way that I want to do it. Things kind of end up all over the place. All right, so, and these ones have like slightly different sizes going on in there. I don't know. I think 2 teaspoons might be what we need to do. Pretty sure they're all at the surface right now. So this is going to be one of those things where we're going to have to kind of wait, stir it, but I don't know, guys. I mean, I think that these are just going to float to the top once we pour them, even if the resin is thicker. So what I'm going to do, though, is I think that we need two teaspoons of each one of these. I don't want too much, but I don't want too little, you know. It's kind of a tough one. We're just going to have to kind of wing it a little bit. This is a terrible box thing. At least they gave me a nice, like, pop lid thing, you know, on this one. I mean, it's not super awesome, but it's better than that terrible box. Get off me. Static cling. I don't really know of any way. I mean, the only way that you could kind of maybe get these things not to float would be to like fill the entire mold with them. But like I said, then you're talking about like, they're still going to want to float up, I think. I don't know. There may be a way to do this. We'll have to just see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till about 100 and... I think I'm going to wait till 105 to like dump these together. Yeah, because the thing is I don't really want to do a lot of stirring after I've poured them together. I mean, I guess I can just pour them separately, but I don't know. There's so many different ways you could do all this stuff. I really think that these are just going to have a bunch of styrofoam at the top of the mold. We'd have to wait till like one, like pretty much where it's like setting up on you, I think. So what temperature are we at right now? We're at like 90. But these, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's like nothing down in the cup. Ice cream dot, I know, the Dippin' Dots. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I don't really think this is going to work. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of craters at the top of the blank. But I really don't think there's anything down in the cup. I don't know. The problem is it's not like you can really get away with pouring this literally at the end, like when it's like setting up. Well, I don't know. I mean, last time we didn't even pressurize them because we were trying to get voids, you know, like air bubbles in the blanks. So I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe we could, well, you know, one other thing that I didn't think about is I'm not sure how the pressure pot's going to affect this styrofoam. I don't think they're air bubbles, but it could end up just collapsing them a little bit, which could give you craters also. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Again, keep in mind, we are trying to create pits in our blanks this time. So it's kind of a counterintuitive thing. So what, oh, I got these stupid dot things all over the place. Let's see here. So I'm going to write some notes. We did, I'm going to write down temperature. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to pour them together. For like the dirty pour portion at 105. And then we're going to pour at like, I don't know, like 110 might be even kind of pushing it, but I'm going to kind of see how I feel, but 110 to 115 Fahrenheit. We'll see. That's going to be really pushing it, I think. But we do need it to be, it's not going to work. We're at 100. They just float right up. I mean, nothing is keeping these things down at all. I don't know. It's tough though. You know, I don't know for sure what's going on in here. I'm looking at this and I'm kind of thinking that all these dots are at the surface right now. And like, even if I stir it, you know, that's great. But look how fast it just fills. They just pop right up to the top. So if we had clear cups, I could kind of see what's going on down below a little bit more, but I really don't. I mean, I'm pretty sure these things are just floating to the top. That's kind of a bummer. I mean, I kind of knew that's probably what would happen, I guess. But I was hoping that maybe if you got them like saturated a little bit, you know, maybe it wouldn't be as bad. So we're at 103. It's a tough one, guys. I don't know that this is going to really do anything. We should have some interesting gray and like multi-gray blanks. I think, you know, realistically, I think if you really want craters, and I'm pretty sure somebody, the first time I was talking about the crater thing, really the easiest thing to do is just pull out like a Dremel and just put craters in it, you know, kind of drill out or whatever you want to call that action. All right, so we're at 106, so we're going to dump these guys together for the dirty action. of there. That's one of the issues with doing this, is you lose some resin. I might be a little short, I don't know. I did add a little extra than what they recommended, but... And then I'm just going to kind of give this a little bit of a stir. The tough thing is I can't measure reliably the temperature once I do that, because I rely on stirring. So what we're going to do is just kind of sit here and wait. I'm going to check the temperature, but I mean it's already down to like 99. Unless I stir it, it just changes what the temperature is, because what you're doing is the hottest part of this cup is in the middle. So I'm kind of more evenly distributing that heat temperature, or the temperature out. Then I measure it. So we'll just have to kind of look at this. I'm going to just move it around a little bit. We poured it at 106. We're trying to wait till like 115. Problem is also I can't really mix unless I totally stir this up, I can't mix the dots in, really. I don't know. I'm going to do one other thing while we're kind of sitting here waiting. Let's just see what happens. I just pour some in here. I don't know. Okay, this is pretty thick and chunky. Dots aren't really... Oh, there they go. I don't really think this went as well as I would have hoped. I do like this gray thing, though. That's kind of cool. All right, so that's what we got. I don't know, guys. I'm not entirely certain that was really great. I'm actually kind of surprised. This is still pretty... I mean, I could have probably waited even longer. But I don't know, guys. I'm not entirely certain what's happening right here. So... in the pressure pot it goes. Now I could not pressurize it. That could do something different. I don't know. Not a lot of confidence in this. There'll be a few little styrofoam balls in this this mold. somebody's stopper is going to have some little did I say silicone? Styrofoam. Somebody's stopper will have some styrofoam balls in there. All right, so we'll clean up and we'll reconvene with the UV resin ones. I think we're going to get the exact opposite effect on those ones, where they're just going to sink to the bottom, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. Gonna need to vacuum all these styrofoam balls all off the off of everywhere. They stick to everything. All right, so we'll put those away for now. I think that might have been kind of a complete dud, guys. I don't know. I'm just going to kind of clean off these stir sticks real quick, and then we'll get on to the next one. And these little metal stir sticks, these are just bits of aluminum bar stock. And they work pretty well. You can get whatever length you want. I like to kind of like, I filed the edges a little bit, or sanded the edges to make everything kind of nice and smooth. So that's not a bad way to go. You know, again, the resin's not going to stick to that. I think still probably the easiest way to go is just getting some HDPE thin stuff. This is like a 3/16 or maybe an 1/8 inch or something. The only issue with HDPE is the longer you go, the more it bends. Whereas this thing's not really, you know, it's not going to bend under the force of resin. This could though, when you're stirring it, and it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes. Just depends. All right, so I'm going to stop and see. Let's see here. iDrive backup service. I don't know what that is. Oh, that sucks. I hate it when things like that happen. Melts between 194. I don't think we're going to get that high. Yeah, I got to be honest, guys. I don't even think, I think it's all just at the top of the blank. Yeah. No, not stainless. They're just, I only have a couple of those that I kind of tested out. The biggest problem was I had, I usually use these, just like, you know, wood popsicle sticks, and they work good. They don't bend and all that stuff. The problem is they're only, I like having a flat on them. You know, personally, I'd rather have that. If you have like the rounded over ones, you're only hitting, like, you can't get into the corner of the cup, and that's where like all that resin kind of wants to hang out, like whatever you poured in first. So I like having that sharp 90-degree corner on my sticks. The problem is you can find other popsicle sticks, but they're only so long. The issue is in a 16-ounce cup, it's barely hanging out, and I don't like that. It ends up getting resin and stuff all over the place. So I wanted something a little bit longer so that, you know, because you end up getting resin sometimes up to the rim, especially if you're pouring multiple times. You can just take the stick out, and I know that, and sometimes I do, but I just wanted something a little longer. But by the time you start getting this long, the bendiness of HDPE comes in. So I'm like, oh, I could just try, you know, metal or something. And aluminum's pretty cheap. Like you don't need stainless steel. That's for sure. That's overkill, and it's just going to cost more, probably. And it's a little harder to like cut even and all that stuff. Aluminum's pretty soft and pliable. It's manageable. I'm just, these little stupid dots are going to bug me. I'm just going to clean a few of them up so that my OCD doesn't completely overwhelm me while we're doing this. Okay. Next batch. Let's see. Did we get any? We didn't get any super chats. Okay, so we're going to come up with something interesting here for colors. Let's see. You know, I've been playing with liquid pigments so much lately that I think I want to go with micas for this. We'll come back to liquid pigments once I get things rolling. And good news, things are moving along with that. There's more. Like I said, right now. I'm definitely going to be selling the coral, the army green, and the what's the third color? Robin egg blue. That's right. So those are coming out. I actually already have the pigment made and bottled and well in the bottles for me to bottle into individual things. The problem is, what bottles am I getting? I think I figured out the sealing, like sealing the bottles. I think that should be good. But there's other things. I mean, even like it's kind of crazy when you start looking at all this stuff. Like even just like the labels that, you know, for the bottles and how to put the label on the bottle. There's a lot of stuff going on with this stuff that I have to kind of learn and figure out before I sell stuff. So, but I would say, I don't know, like a month or two from now, the first 3 colors should be available, and I'll probably be coming out with some newer ones even pretty quickly after that. I just want to kind of get things rolling, see how it works shipping, a bunch down to Turner's Warehouse, see how, shipping a few goes, and not have to worry about having a bunch of different colors off the bat. But they should be coming pretty soon. Like I said, things are kind of getting figured out, let's say. So, Tim, nice. So what color do you want, Tim? Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Let's see here. I haven't even thought about pearly colors for a long time. My brain has just been coming up with the new colors.
Take my money.
So many colors to choose from. Ooh, a ghost color. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Offset the resin. Yeah, let me know which we got. Purple. Let's see. What is it? Red, blue, green, and then you got violet and gold. So let me know which one you want, Mark. Dealer's choice. I don't know if I can pick one. So we're going with. Let's see what Mark says for the ghost color, and then maybe that'll kind of lean. We could throw in. We could throw in a liquid pigment too. I got everything, guys. I got whatever you want, whatever color you want, whatever form you want it to be in. You just let me know. Kim wants Blurple. That's one of the best. We'll go with the traditional Blurple with the violet dye. And then we got Kim wants Blurple. Tim wants blue. We want gold interference. We got a lot of blues. Let's see. We got gold and Blurple. Let's see. Blue. We got aqua. Bahama. Blurple. That one's too purple. And we also have like the Nocon. That's a good one. Dark Ocean. I think the problem with eye candy is they have too many colors. Because like there's just, have you guys gone to their actual website? Like the difference between, they got like 37 different blues, and the difference between them, you're like, I don't know, whichever one you want me to use. It gets kind of tough. That's a pretty nice looking color. Okinawa blue. You gotta, I don't know, we gotta, Nocon might look good. Dark Ocean's a pretty good one. What do you think about Dark Ocean, Tim? Let me switch to this view. It's kind of like a, it's kind of a nice deep blue. It's not dark or anything like that, but it's also not like a light. There's lighter ones out there. So let me know if you like that one. That one's always a good one. I think it'd probably go fine with the Blurple. 3 colors is pretty good. I think that would be a good mixture. Blue, gold, and purple. Oh yeah. Okay. I don't know, man. These things feel really heavy. It's the tough part about casting, Things are either too heavy or too light sometimes. I need a drink real quick. Ah, that's nice. Okay. So let's mark this down. Vinny's in, penny copper. Nice. I haven't even used that yet. All right, so number 2. These are going to be some wild blanks right here. This is a really cool combination of colors. So again, 300 grams was plenty. In fact, 5... I'm wondering if 45 grams really is over, but we're going to go with 50. And then we got, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. 4 colors. No, I think the penny copper will be cool. I think it'll, that's the thing, like a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with this is why I kind of tell people, The liquid pigments sometimes can be a little bit more challenging, especially if you're like a beginner. But when it comes to the micas, I mean, really, I have never put like a certain combination of mica powders together and been like, wow, that's like the worst combination of colors. Like the color itself in the blank just turned out terrible. You can pretty much get away with whatever you want to do. And a lot of times things where you're like, wow, that doesn't really seem to, in my brain, that doesn't really go together. A lot of times they do. And that's one of the reasons why I like doing the super chat thing like this, because people will just, you know, it's not like people are teaming up and then being like, oh, well, you know, this will go great together. People are just kind of throwing colors out, and a lot of times it's things that nobody would, you know, the mixture of them all is not something that like anybody would be like, oh, you know, it'd be a really great blank is this, you know, random mix of colors. They turn out, we have never made one on the stream that I'm like, that is terrible. Like, I just want to throw those in the garbage. All of them turned out good. Some of them better than others, you know, of course, but some of the wildest mixtures, I'm like, you get them out and you're like, wow, that's impressive actually. And I would have never thought about that. All right, so we're doing 300, let's see, divided by 4 is 75. We'll just do even amounts on each color. You can mess around with these different things, but that's cool. 75. We got, let's see here, we got Dark Ocean. We got Interference Gold. We've got Blurple. And we got Penny Copper. And, let me just move, I'll move over here so you guys can see what I'm actually doing here. We got stickiness all over the place. No, that's a first. Penny Copper. Okay, so I think we need maybe like a half teaspoon. That'll be a good amount. Probably don't even need that much. 75. Let's try a quarter teaspoon. I think that's probably enough. Probably don't even need even that much. I'm going to do an 1/8 teaspoon with the Blurple plus 1 drop of violet. That, it really darkens it up. That you add that violet dye to it and it completely changes everything. Now with the Penny Copper, I'm going to do a half teaspoon. Let's put a lot of that stuff in. It's a bigger chunk. You know, it's more just like a glitter. I don't even know that I'd call this like a mica powder really. I don't think it technically is. It's really more of kind of a glitter. And I always find the more the better. You know, if you're doing the 14 karat nugget, definitely put more in. Double it, triple it, whatever. You're never going to be unhappy adding more. Generally even adding more mica powder, but sometimes you don't need that. If you're going for like see-through kind of, then obviously that doesn't work. But all right, so what I'm going to do here, I think I want to put these like in a dish maybe, or I have like a little cup. One thing that let's see, I think I might dump those things in the mixing, dump some of those things in the mixing cup and just see if they just sink like a rock. It'll tell us a lot, I think, if we just do that kind of first. But like I said, what I want to do, I think I'm just going to get a little cup. I don't know. I don't want these things going all over the place. So I think I'm going to put them, there's a styrofoam. There's styrofoam everywhere, guys. Oh, that's why I had the scissors out. Let me go grab those again. Just going to cut this little bag open. Just going to dump these guys in here. It's even got some like little, I don't know if you can see that. There's like little things. So it's kind of a mixture of different sizes of this stuff, or I don't know, something. Because even these little tiny things that are going on the top here that I'm kind of forcing out, they look like little balls, little beads. It's So like those guys, those might actually kind of stay suspended. Those little chunks. I don't know how useful they're going to be in what we're trying to do, but we got it, you know. We got something going on here. I'm just going to kind of... That's what I'm trying to do, is kind of get this all kind of mixed up and not just get like one size or when I scoop it out. Here's a little styrofoam ball. There's a little styrofoam ball. They're everywhere, guys. They're everywhere. Okay, so 300 grams. Let's see here. We need, you can still, you don't need to fill just one of these guys. You really don't. They're almost so small that like, I feel like I could just do 2 of them pretty easily at once. I don't know why I have like more confidence. These little things are everywhere. I don't know. It makes me feel like I could just knock out 12 of these. Actually, that makes me wonder, how much is the 12 blank one? 130 versus 65. Huh. So like, there's really no difference. They have a 12 blank mold, like a big one, and there's actually like no difference in price. I don't think if you buy am I doing this wrong? 65 versus 130. It's the same number, right? Yeah. So I don't know. There's not a whole lot of benefit to the 12 blank one. I would say that maybe the only thing is putting 2 of these next to each other. You're going to have a little bit more distance between these holes and these ones, maybe. But I don't know. I don't know that there's like an advantage to buying the 12 blank mold one that they sell. It's just one piece. That's great. But anyway, just wanted to let you know. Okay, so zero that guy out. I'm going to get all this junk out of my way here. Get things organized so that I can think. Get these scissors out of my face. And let's do this. All right, so we need 150 grams of part A. Actually, before I begin, 75 grams. Let me get my cups ready. I think these will hold, yeah, they'll hold 75. In fact, we're going to do a little bit more. So we got 4 colors. I don't want to leave one color in the big cup, really. It's a lot bigger than this. It'll end up heating up slower. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit extra. We're going to go 155 grams times 2. So like, 310 is what I'm going to mix in this cup, and then we're going to pour it off equally among these little ones. That way there's even amounts in these smaller cups, and it'll heat kind of evenly. I don't think it's a big deal in this instance, but it is probably a better way to do it, just to kind of keep everything on an even keel, you know what I mean? So I need 155 part A. A little over, that's not a big deal. Let's go over with the part B. And I do want to, like I said, I want to add a little bit of those balls to this cup after I mix it. I just want to kind of see, because once we add the mica powders, it's the same problem. I don't know what's actually happening in the cup, so we'll just kind of do it's not a big deal if we add a little bit of that stuff first. It's not going to change anything, but it'll kind of give us an idea what we're in for. And another thing, like I said, one thing you could do is just like fill the entire tube up with these things. I just wonder how, I don't know how well that's going to work. If that's a good idea or not, really. I'm a little over with the B. A lot of times I usually add a little extra part B. And again, that's only with this specific resin, okay? Clear, slow. Which way do you do it? Clear, slow from Alumilite. Okay, not any other epoxy, not Alumilite, amazing clear cast, none of those. Just this one. Little extra part B is not going to hurt anything. And if you're doing very small amounts of, pouring very small things, thin, it may actually ward off, it can kind of blush. And you know, we had this whole discussion about clear slow not heating up as much as the regular clear. You know, the urethane version, the Alumilite clear. Again, not amazing clear cast, just Alumilite clear. We were talking about that. The clear slow doesn't heat up as much as the regular clear. And what can happen is you get, you know, during its curing phase, what can happen is you can get what's called blushing, and it's like a white haze in the cured resin. And it doesn't hurt anything. It's not like dimensionally, you know, like the characteristics of the resin are not in any way diminished. So if you're putting a bunch of like dye or, you know, mica powder or whatever, and you can't see that blushing, then it doesn't matter. But where a lot of people do these thin amounts is in clear castings, like label blanks. That's where it's a big one. And of course, if you're doing something clear and it needs to be see-through, you don't want a big white streak in it. So I would generally avoid using clear slow for very thin parts and stuff. Just switch to the regular clear or go for an epoxy. It's going to work better for those types of things. Because again, clear slow was really intended to be poured literally, I think it says on their, or it used to say on their website that it was introduced to pour 32 ounces at a time or more. So if you're only pouring 1 ounce, it's not made, it's not going to do that well. Let's just say it can do it, but there's some issues. And you can get around the blushing and all that stuff. That would be an instance where you definitely need to heat up like the mold. Keep it like at like 90 degrees. That's where you would have to have something on your pressure pot itself. Should have added the mica powder to these cups. That would have been smart. I was talking. We're okay. And if we go over in one, that's not a big deal. We're at 77 on that one. It's okay. We'll go a little under on this one. That's fine. All right, so 75 in there. We'll do a little bit of extra. This one that was a little low. That's fine. Okay. Now we're doing a 1/4 teaspoon. Let's see, let me grab the right thing. 1/4 teaspoon of dark ocean. Oh, I forgot to mix the stuff in, huh? So let's yeah, they sink pretty much like a rock. All right, so one little experiment that we're going to do here. Ooh, I don't know if the resin's actually going to be able to go in there. Now that I'm looking at this. I don't think that's a good idea, guys. Now the edge is coated. That's funny. Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know. I don't think the resin's going to be able to actually go down in there, especially if we wait for the temperature to get up to where we want it to. You know, the resin thickens up. Those things just kind of sit together. There's not a lot of, you know, gap between them. So let's see, where did the 1/2 teaspoon thing go? Oh. I don't know. This is a kind of messed up experiment here. Oh geez, that got all over the outside of the mold. That's fun. Got to be completely honest. The penny copper and all these things, I just don't really like how messy these things are. They just literally get everywhere. Look at that. Kind of a pain. Just so you know, if anybody else has that kind of issue. know what you're getting into before you start. Let's see, we're doing 1/8 teaspoon of the blurple. I really should have mixed this before I started this. It's okay, we got plenty of time. I'm not worried about it. But. I'm just gonna kind of get this mixed in here so that it doesn't go all over the place. Got our dark ocean. That blue and copper is kind of an interesting pair. Again, something that off the top of my head, that's not something I would have just picked off the, randomly. I like that. And I think the blurple is going to go well with both of those. So the blurple, this is the color shift powder that I sell. On its own, it's very transparent, and it's just kind of like a. It's very similar to the Ghost colors. It's got purple and blue. Is that the right one? Yeah. It's even showing like almost like a greenish color in there, but it's like a purple to blue. What really sets that stuff off is having a dark background. But what I do is I just add a drop of the Alumilite Violet dye. So it just kind of creates a dark backdrop, but it is going to make it look purple, right? But you get this blue shimmer to it as well, depending on how the light's hitting it. So it's one of my favorite. It almost looks like an oil slick or something. Very cool. So I don't know if this will come across, but you get blue and violet depending on how the light's hitting it. It doesn't take much, it looks extremely transparent. Well, it is extremely transparent. Just putting that 1/8 teaspoon of the powder in only, you would totally see through. One drop of violet pretty much makes that opaque even if you had a tube and all that kind of stuff going on, should make it opaque enough to where you can't see any of that. Okay, so let's cover this guy up. We got the dark ocean done. We got the penny copper done. We need our interference gold now. We're gonna do 1/4 teaspoon of that. Dang, I need some more of that. Running low on the interference gold there. Okay, so let's see. Uh-oh. I hope is let me know in the comments if the stream's still working. Something happened to my my browser shut down, so let me know. Yeah, there's a lot of static electricity happening. Those styrofoam balls kind of really... There's a lot of static, period, in my shop. I think it's so dry that it's just something that happens, but... I think that what the heck was that? Oh, shoot, I lost the tip of my thing. Hold on. Jeez, things are... My air hose nozzles are falling off. I just wanted to kind of blow some of that off. I fixed it a little bit. What was I saying? I don't know. Hey, Bob. Do you watch For All Mankind? Oh, never mind. We've been watching For All Mankind. That's like, for anybody that watches that, you'll get that joke. It literally is a Bob here. Okay, never mind. Hey, Bob. So, we're good? Okay, because my browser and like the YouTube thing is like, oh, YouTube isn't receiving anything, blah. Your stream is dead. It's lying to me. Okay, so we got our... We'll have to see how this goes. Once again, we're gonna... So, I guess the way to do this is... I don't know, guys. Pour it together, or like pour the colors in and then dump the beads on. Maybe do a little bit of both. Dump some beads in each one of these cups. See what happens. I don't know, man. I think that I think we're fighting against physics here, on both of these experiments, and I think physics is going to win in the end. That darn physics, it always gets you. While we're waiting, I'll put these micas back. See what we got here. Let's see what temperatures we're looking at. One of the things that I find with these little tiny cups is the temperature numbers aren't as accurate sometimes. I mean, literally, it depends on where you're hitting in the cup. It can go from 82 to 92, 3. So I'd probably go with whatever the highest temperature is probably like the number that you really are looking at. Usually the middle of the cup tends to be higher, but like right now 94 is over here. And then it goes 87. So just be aware of that with the smaller cups. It's the temperature thing is kind of a crapshoot. I don't know why. What about 95? There. Let's see what this says. 95. Probably about 95. So I think what I'm going to do, I don't know. I don't know if dumping anything into these cups is really going to solve any issues here. It's really a tough question here. Yeah, they just kind of sink like a rock. We wait till a pretty high temperature and then, well, I don't know. I'm going to put a decent amount in each one of these cups before we even begin. See how I feel. I'm going to drop one little, yeah, they're really heavy. I don't know, guys. Once it breaks the kind of the surface tension on the top, I mean, it just seems like it sinks like a rock. We're going to have to wait till 99. Okay, I think we're good to go up to like 100. I think what I'm going to do, so one thing that I have found, you know, my typical way of doing it 1 cup at a time, that takes a tremendous amount of time. So I think what we're going to do here, even though it tends to not, I'm really not good at this, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the 2-cup method. That way it'll split down the amount of like passes. And the reason that this is important is the more cups you have, and if you're doing it 1 cup at a time, then where you start and where it ends, like the temperature of the resin and how thick it is, can be really thick at the end, which is fine, I guess. But what we want is to try and like speed up the process is what I'm trying to do. So we can start pouring at a higher temperature and get through it and everything will look good, but it doesn't take us as long to pour it. It ends up, I create a gigantic mess every time I do it. So I'm just warning you guys, but generally it works fine. Like it's not a big deal. So 105. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump some on the top of the blanks, I guess. see what we get, if anything. The problem is you really just can't pour it to the point where it's like super thick, like like it's solid almost. It's really hard. It would be even really hard. Like we could sit here and wait, dump it, but for it to get like to the point where when we pour the beads on and it sucks through the surface and starts going down, at what point? Like you'd have to nail that like within seconds, I think, to get that to be perfect. So I'm just warning everybody, typically this doesn't really work that well if you've got something this heavy that you're trying to pour. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to mix these two and these two, like pour them, these 2 colors. I think this gold and purple will look really good together, and I think that the darker purple will help set off the interference gold more. Let's see if we can see a temperature. So we're like at 110 almost. So I'm gonna pull all my sticks out. This is the other thing. If you're going to do it this way, you have to remove the sticks, otherwise things are going to go really sideways. So you want to get your sticks out of there. It's nice to have a little cup sitting there handy like I've got right there. And I'm just going to wait. I'm going to not freak out, not panic or anything for a minute, because we are doing this. It's going to be a faster thing, pouring 2 cups at once, and we're just going to kind of quickly dump these guys in. So we're going to wait a minute. I got my cup of beads sitting here. I don't know how this is going to go, guys. Still runny enough, I feel like. We're still okay. We're going to wait a little bit longer. I don't know what temperature we're at this point. I'm not even sure which cup. Let's see. This one looks like the Blurple stir stick. Might be helpful to keep one in here. So we're at like 115. I think that it's getting pretty thick. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to pour it. So so hold your breath, guys. This is gonna get wild, I think. We'll do a little bit of that. I don't know if you can tell, but I've been practicing this. Not making as much of a mess as I have in the past. See how much faster this is than my typical way of doing things, though? 1 cup at a time really takes quite a bit of time to get it, to get it finished. And I mean, we could wait till 115 degrees with no real issues. And it's only set, about 68, 70 in the shop. So let's see what happens here. It is thick enough. Oh, that one's going. This is kind of crazy. This might work. I don't know. Especially if I just kind of keep adding these little things. Okay, I'm going to call that good. We're going to get this thing in the pressure pot. I'm going to give it a little bit of a pop. Let's see how this goes. I kind of think we're on the verge of it being, like, if you were going for blanks that had no air bubbles whatsoever in them. Luckily, we're trying to make craters. So we've got a little bit of leeway with this, but if you were going for, it's still runny. I don't know. Pretty thick. I'm going to call that a day. If you were going for blanks that had 0 air bubbles, I don't think that's the way that you would want to do it. I'm just going to say right now. that was, you know, by the time we poured it, and by the time you get it in the pressure pot, if you wait too long, even though it may not look like, it's not like solid, like that was pretty thick though, especially, excuse me, especially some of those colors were really thick. It can get to the point where the pressure pot can't really get the air bubbles out. It's too solidified, let's say, I guess. So there is a point where even if it kind of, you know, it was pretty thick, but you thought you got it in there in time, it may not be in time, kind of thing. And you might get some little air bubbles and things going on. It's not the end of the world or anything like that, but you know, it could happen. Now, in this case, we're going for craters. I don't really care if there's a few air bubbles. It's not really going to hurt anything because we're kind of going for that. Now, those little bead things are not going to like go away. They're just going to be kind of little clear things. So we're not, I don't know how this is exactly going to work. I don't know that it's really going to provide a crater, like a literal crater of any kind. It may provide a like what looks kind of like a crater, maybe. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun. You know, I'd never seen those materials before. I'm just getting rid of some of the little balls and stuff. I'd never seen, well, I guess I knew about styrofoam, the little styrofoam balls. I think that one's going to be a complete dud, unfortunately. This one, though, was interesting. I'd never seen this UV resin, these UV resin like little bead things. So we'll have to see how those go. If they are just like a UV resin, they should be turnable, polishable, all that kind of stuff. I don't see why that would be a problem, I guess. The biggest issue is, are those things going to get lodged in the blank? I mean, it's obviously, I don't think it's going to be like a even, you know, distribution in the blank of that stuff. That's probably not happening. But we'll have to see what we get. I don't know. I'm even at the start, I wasn't very hopeful. I'm still not that hopeful, although after doing that second batch, I don't know, we could get some interesting effects from that, I think, possibly. So it should be kind of fun. So let's see here. Any questions or anything like that? I remember before plastic bottles. Glass bottle, wow. Yeah, I don't know. It might have been YouTube's YouTube servers might have had some kind of a little bit of a glitch or something, because like everything kind of crashed on in the YouTube, you know, like window thing here for me. So I don't know. Yeah, that's going to be a really crazy fun brawl. Well, I'm going to bring this back. I mean, this will give you guys a kind of an idea of what those blanks are going to look like a little bit. We didn't get the blurple in there. It just was too thick, but I mean, those are pretty, that's an interesting color combination. I definitely like the penny copper and the blue. The interference gold is a little bit of a weird duck for me. It's not as interference as all the other ones. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more mica powderish, just like a standard mica powder. It has an interference quality to it, but oh, these things are probably toast. We're just gonna chuck those ones. It has a little bit of that shimmer that looks like almost a glow is what you kind of get with the interference colors, but it's just, it doesn't work exactly the same, I don't feel. So it's kind of a little bit more of just kind of a weird gold that has kind of an aura look to it. But you know, gold, that kind of gold and blue definitely looks good. I like the gold and the copper look. And I like the gold, copper, and blue. Now, we didn't get to see what the purple looks like in that little fun burl, but using my brain, definitely I can see the purple and the copper now. I think that would be a good combination. Purple and blue always goes good together. Purple, blue, and copper I think would be a good color. And then it's just the question is the gold. And what I'm hoping is that blurple will really kind of pop the gold more. If that's the case, I think we got something pretty cool on our hands. They're going to be good looking blanks. We'll just have to see if the crater thing did anything. I don't know. Try using the stirring stick. On the Fun Burl or in the pen blanks? Yeah, one thing there was so much going on. If you're gonna wait until like 120, 130, for you to stick, one of these like sticks in to stir it up, especially this one that's got like a hook and all these things going on, and it's a little bit thicker, it's gonna be really thick. And you're almost gonna pull a lot of that stuff actually kind of back out, and it's gonna really, really stir it up. So I kind of, in the back of my head while we were doing all that stuff, I thought of the stir stick, and I'm like, I'm just not even messing with it. I think it's gonna be fine. One thing that I have found, like as far as I understand, I think I think quite a few of the other pen blank makers, especially the folks that are in the like the bespoke community, there's kind of a slightly different community over there of people, blank makers and stuff, than, I don't know, than I'm used to, I guess, let's say. But a lot of those people that make blanks that are a little bit more specific to bespoke only, I think they do a lot more of that two-handed pouring kind of thing. And their blanks, just doing it that way, it kind of creates an interesting mixture as compared to just pouring it 1 cup at a time like I usually do. You can get good results, but all these things, like how you do it, if it's like 2 cups at a time or 1 and then another, and like I've been doing usually on the stream, that can affect things, but also what temperature you're pouring at affects things as well. So, if you do it 1 cup at a time and your temperature is a little bit lower, the resin, there's more movement that can happen, let's say. So if you pour 1 cup at a time at a lower temperature, you get more play. If you pour 1 cup at a time at a higher temperature, you get a lot more blobbiness. So doing 2 cups at a time, you get it may be kind of blobby, but it also is like 2 going at the same time, so you get a little bit more variation in there. So there's all kinds of different ways. Then you add a stir stick to either one of those methods, and it also changes things. So pretty crazy. Oh yeah, I have a stir spoon. One of these days we got to use that. It's right here. We'll do that at some point when we're just making blanks. We'll have to see what we get with these results, but next week we'll do a turning. We'll turn these samples up, and then the week after, I will try to remember. We'll just make some blanks. We'll just do kind of a chill. Let's make some interesting colors, and we'll use the little stir spoon. I got it right there. It's in the back of my head, so I promise we'll use it. So Jungin silver, yes. Yeah, Jungin silver and penny copper would look good. So, and I want to double check something really quickly right now. Pretty sure Turner's has Jungin silver in now. Because I told Chad, I said, listen, Chad, we're not friends anymore if you don't get Jungin silver in. And he said, okay. Let's see, do they have it? They got it. They've got it, guys. I knew that they got it in. I didn't know if they had it up on the website. So hold on real quick. I'll drop a link to the Jungin. It is the best silver. And I think Mark, was it you, Mark, that told me about it? I was super skeptical. I'm going to be completely honest. Oh, I screwed that up. Hold on a minute. You were like, no, you got to try that out. And I'm like, I've tried every mica powder silver, and I don't like most of them. It is a game changer. It is a real silver. Like a metallic silver. It's really good. So there's a link to that. If you use that link, it's also an affiliate link. So I get a little kickback from Turner's Warehouse. But yeah, Jungin silver, I'll show it to you guys. It's, where is it? It is fabulous. So one of the things is, back in the day, Alumilite used to sell metallic. They called them specifically metallic something. I don't know. What did they call them? I still have some of the old ones. Oh, that's pearlescent. Oh yeah. They had one called gunmetal. So they called it metallic powder. And it's like a mica, but it's different. And they had a silver that was absolutely fabulous. Like, I thought it was the best. The biggest problem though is it was really light powder. It was like super, super fine powder. Whatever it was, I don't know. But they stopped selling it. They don't carry that stuff anymore. I don't know why. And so that was the silver that I always used, and I loved it, and then they got rid of it, and I was like kind of mad. But it was kind of a pain to use because in that case, it was just a mica powder basically, but it would literally float to the top. Like parts of it at least would float to the top. So it was kind of similar to what is the word? Glitter. You know, certain glitters float to the top, so you have to wait till a certain temperature just to keep the stuff, you know, mixed throughout the thing. So it was kind of a pain to use, but it was like the best silver that I'd ever found. Then they got rid of it, and I was like distraught. So I had tried a bunch of mica powders, but this Jungian it creates, actually I would argue it's even better than that metallic thing was from Alumilite, but it has none of the side effects. It's a mica powder. So I don't know. I'll just kind of show it to you, but it mixes in well. It doesn't float. It doesn't do anything, and it provides excellent. Like, I mean, it is like the metallic silver. If that's what you're trying to make in a blank, this is what you want. So hit that link up. Go and let them know that you are very proud that they are carrying the Jungian. And if anybody has any, oh, that's the wrong camera. If anybody has any other recommendations, let me know, because I can get pretty much any eye candy color. And if there's something that, you know, turners should be carrying, they will probably start carrying it if we give it a test on the stream and we're like, oh yeah, you should have this one too. Yeah, it's the best silver ever. Like, it's crazy. I mean, sometimes it's funny. Like, you find a product and you're like, why has no one else come out with this? Like, seriously. So it's pretty good. Oh, I got pulled, Chad. I said, listen to me, Chad. No. I told him, I was like, it's a good one. Like, it's the best. And I think I might have even sent one or bought one or something like that and brought it to them. And I'm pretty sure he tried it out and he's like, oh yeah, we're going to carry that. So it's pretty good. Chad's always, you know, if there's something good out there, they usually will go and get it. They'll try and carry it for you guys if they can. So anyway, guys, that was pretty fun. I don't know how these are going to turn out, if we're going to get what we wanted out of them or not. I think either way, I'm excited to see how the grays turned out. Even if we don't get craters and all that kind of stuff, I don't think we're going to get craters in them. I'm interested to see how that mixture looks, because worst case scenario, we can always figure out how to put craters in a blank. But if that mixture worked with the two different grays and kind of provides a little bit better like moon look, that might be a cool way to go to try and capture the moon. And then with the other ones, those little beads, I don't know. I'm like 50-50. I had about it was like an 85-90% chance that I didn't think that was going to work whatsoever. Now I'm about 50-50. I think we could get some interesting results with those little pearl bead things and see what happens. But I think the colors, bare minimum, even if the craters don't really work out, I think are going to be pretty cool to see. So anyway, let's see here. The Graduate Supreme. Kits, sometimes it depends on who sells them. But you guys also can just shoot them a text or something like that, and they'll look into it too. But I'll write that down and try and look into it and see what's going on. They came out with 2 new kits, by the way, this week. I can't think of the names. Do they have them on their homepage? What are the names of those things? The Swift, they've got a new click, and Chad says that this thing is the best click that he's ever used. So I'm very interested to see that. They got the Swift, and then there's the something else. What's the other one? Oh, it's not pulling up. I don't know what the other new one is. But they did it on their live stream the last 2 weeks. So if you want to see these new pen kits, they look fabulous. They're really nice kits. So go check those out on their channel, the YouTube, the Turner's TV. I'll grab a link to it real quick. So yeah, just look at their, I think, lives. Strider, that's the other one, Strider. if you click on the live, yeah, there we go, Strider and Swift. So I'm going to link to their streams. They might have just regular videos, but if you just look at their last 2 live streams, you can just like scrub through to the end and see the kit itself. Swift and Strider, they're really nice looking kits, pretty awesome. So, and I'll be getting some of those in soon. I'm not sure. They've got a little care package that's coming down. They got some other, man. I talked to Chad yesterday. They've got a new product coming out that I'm going to just say right now, I cannot wait to get this in and share with you guys. That's a game changer as well. So keep your pants on, guys. It's going to get nuts. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day today. Thanks for joining the fun. And like I said, we'll be back next week and we'll see what these things, how they turned out, if we got any craters or not, and what these colors look like. I think bare minimum, at least we'll get some ideas of some new color combinations, how they might work out. So anyway, guys, like I said, have a great rest of the evening, and I'll see you guys.